Hey guys, it's Milmer here with another Xcode tutorial. Now, first off, I just want to say sorry for my voice being a bit off, but I'm ill at the moment, so it might sound a bit weird. But yeah, as you've told by the title, in this tutorial we'll be learning how to read and write plists. Now, I'm going to try and fit this into one video, and I think the best way of me fitting this into one video is by literally writing out the code and then going through it with you guys, because watching me write it, whatever, is just going to take a bit too long, because I've tried this already. I've tried doing it in separate parts and it just looks too confusing because everything is so linked together. You can't do it in separate parts without leaving you on ends going, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with that bit? So I'm just going to try and do it all in one, and if that doesn't work, then, well, this video won't be put out anyway. I'm talking too much, it's going to make it longer. So yeah, if you don't know what a plist is, it's basically a list full of, it's basically a file with lists full of properties. That's what it stands for, property list, plist, property list. And you can have strings in here, so you see this is the key for the string and that's the value of the string. So the key is basically the name and the value is what it is. So you can have a string called icon file and the value is going to be the file of the icon. And you can have arrays, you can have booleans, you can have dictionaries, you can have integers, you can have all sorts of stuff in these arrays. And what's useful about them is that you can save them to the user's iPod and they can then read it up on it later. You can have them on a server, you can edit it on the server and re-download it onto the app via just a web page, like a web URL link, and display it, and that way you don't have to update the app for new information. You can just automatically update it with a plist. So I'm going to write out everything here, and then I'm going to write out everything in the M and just go through it with you because it'll be easy that way, like I said. So I'll see you when I've written everything. Alright guys, I'm back, and as you can see, I've just added three things here. I've added a local NS string called data file path, and that is going to hold the file path for our actual plist. So that's where the plist is going to be saved, basically. I've also got two voids. The one void is write plist, and the other void is read the plist. So if we go into the .m here, in the view did load, just concentrate on that at the moment. I've created two buttons. One button is called the read button and the other's the write button. Now, ignore what this .frame and all this other stuff here is, because all this is basically doing is creating a button, setting where it is in the screen, and then adding it to the screen. So don't worry about that. That's got nothing to do with what we're doing. So they're just the read and write buttons, and I've set them to go to the read plist void and the write plist void. So first, we need to look at this data file path method. So if we go down to that, you can see here we have our string again, data file path. And what we need to do with a local string like this, or anything local like that, if that was like a NS text field or something like that, we need to return the string that we've created. So we can do all sorts of stuff in here, get the string from somewhere, blah, 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 then we return the string. So I could type here, return Milmer, like at Milmer, and then that will be the string. So when we call this string later in our Xcode, later in our project, it will look for this return value, and that will be our string. So in this thing, what we do is create an array, and this array is going to hold the hold basically directory or the folder or the area, if you like, where our plist is going to be saved. Then we have an NS string, which is basically going to be the path object in this. So it's going to be the first object in that area, in that folder. And then we create a new string by appending path component, and we create a new string called milmersdata.plist, and that will then be our file. So this path looks at the NS user domain mask, and if we have a look at that, the NS user domain mask is the user's home directory, the place to install the user's personal items. So basically, that's where you save stuff. So yeah, that's where we get there. All this code will be in the description. So yeah. Okay, moving on. Now we've made our file, we can then move on to the write plist. So to write the plist, we create an array here, but you can do anything. Like I said, a plist can contain integers, arrays, strings, Boolean values, dictionaries. It can contain anything. Well, almost anything. So here I've just added an array for just simplicity. Oopsie daisy, sorry, just snapped something there. Okay, so here you see we create an array and we have objects, Milmers and Xcode. Then we write the file using an array write file method to the string or to the area data file path. As I've said, data file path leads to that document directory Milmers data, and write atomically yes. That's basically the way it kind of writes it. If it can't write it atomically, then it will ignore this anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's set to yes or no, but yes is always good because yes is better. So yeah, that basically writes the file. Now you can do an array write to URL, and it's the same thing. You just put the URL. So if you've got a server with your URL, you'd then put, NSURL URL with string, and then you'd put http:// and then your username for the server, your password for the server, and then you go @ and then your website. So that's my website, and then you carry on like that. Or and that's how you write to the server, like that. But normally you'll be downloading from the server anyway. That's what I'd say, because you'd edit it, put it on the server, then download it into the app. So that's how you write the plist. And then if we go down to the final one, read plist, what we do here is we create a new string, and we're going to call this string file path. Just for simplicity, we're going to create a new instance of our data file path. For simplicity, that's all it is. So basically, this file path now is the data file path in this one method. Then what we do, we ask the file manager, which is a thing that Xcode has, to check if the data file path method, to see if milmersdata.plist is there. Because if it isn't, then we're just going to get a whole bunch of errors, the app's going to crash. So first we need to make sure it's there. And if it is there, then we can read it. So we read it, because I know it's an array, I'm going to read it with an array. So I'll create a new array called array. And then I say array init with contents of file. If you had a string, for instance, you would put you'd put ns string alloc init with contents of file. If you don't want to do the init method or the alloc init method, you can always go array space equals space ns array and then array with contents of file. So like that, and then you'd put the self data file path and then like that. That's another way of doing it if you want. Or you could put like string array of contents. You can do a dictionary, UI integer with that sort of stuff. So that's how you do that. Then all I do here is log the array and then log the file path so we know where it is, and then release the array. So that is our thing. What we do, we create the buttons, then we create the path where it's going to be saved, then we write an array into it, then we read the array back, and we also get the file path so we know where to find it within our app. So I'm going to build and run here, and I'll be back when it's built. Right guys, here we are, here's our app, and as you can see I got the buttons slightly wrong with the sizes there, but that doesn't matter. What we're going to do now, we're going to first read the data. And as you can see, nothing happens because the file doesn't exist. So that's our checking method, and our app hasn't crashed, that's a good thing. Then we're going to write the data. So before we write the data, we can always add arrays to our data. So if we had a text field here, we can type in the text field, press enter, and then it will add to the array. Then we can write the data. So that's the data now written. Now we can read it back, and as you can see, if I move this out the way and extend this here, we have logged our thing. So we've got the Milmers and the Xcode here, that's logged, and we also have the file path, just like that. So if we just go back to our simulator here, we can read, keep reading, and like that. Now, as I said, if you had a text field here, you can make the text field add to the array, and then when we write it again for a second time, it will add that to the array. Now, that will be my next tutorial, teaching you how to add data to the plist. So that can be found over here. So again, all this code will be in the tutorial, including the setting up the buttons, even though they're in the wrong places. But yeah, and all this will be in the description. So I hope that wasn't too kind of fast to you guys or too confusing, because if it is, let me know. I'll help you in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Again, any questions, just ask, because I know it's kind of confusing concept to grasp. Yeah, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at FailcakeApps. Annotations should pop up on the screen here. Sorry for my voice, I'm a bit ill. Don't forget to click on the ads in some of my videos, because that also helps. Don't forget to give me a like, because I'll know to carry on with these videos. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.